amendments are proposed by making handwritten additions to printed copy or by simply crossing out the text with a pen. The official Senate copy of committee proceedings, while recorded in HD format, are downgraded just a week later to standard format when they're copied to a DVD for storage. Through the use of email, electronic documents, I should say though the use of email, electronic documents has certainly increased. A paper copy of every bill, sometimes thousands of pages long, is still placed on each senator's desk in the Senate chamber when the bill is debated. This happens even though staff and members have hopefully been poring over the text in their own offices for days, weeks, or sometimes even months in advance. As you work on the challenges today, I want to encourage you to be bold and push our institution to change old ways of doing business with new innovations that allow us to do our jobs better.
Third sitting U.S. Senator, Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut. Senator Blumenthal was just named the ranking member of the Veterans Affairs Committee, and there are a couple of Veterans Affairs related projects on the left.
And I've seen litigation, for example, change. Literally, it's been transformed by the availability of organizing tools and retrieval mechanisms that are the result of new technology. That litigation has changed, our courts have changed, our law enforcement agencies have changed, and our legislative bodies have changed. I would have considered it inconceivable to see a legislative colleague go to the floor of the state legislature in Connecticut and use a computer. But it is happening all the time. It still is, believe it or not, inconceivable to go to the floor of the United States Senate and see a computer or electronic device being used. And that will change.
But it should be, because these countries are like, falling apart. So that's just important. But then you look at...
I know everybody's tired. We've done a ton of hacking, a ton of talking, a ton of eating and drinking. All things that normal human beings do. And it's been fun to do it with you. But now we're at the meat and potatoes portion of our program, when your ideas to improve Congress are presented to our August panel of judges. All right, now last word. Remember what the judges are looking for. 4 criteria for you. Is your project meeting a real need? And what is its impact? Necessity and impact. Is it going to fly? Feasibility. Is it open and replicable? Openness and replication. And last, but certainly not least, accessibility. How accessible is your project to the user base and to the problem at hand? Now with that, we're going to turn it over to our first group, CoalitionBuilder. Give it up for CoalitionBuilder!
Good afternoon, everyone. We're team CoalitionBuilder. Can I just get you guys to raise your hand? My name is Tobias Warnett. I'm with Microsoft out of New York City, and with me,
my name is Melissa Medina, and I am a recovering Congressional Hill staffer. Been on Hill for 4 years.
And we focus on how to improve the lawmaking process. So just for everyone, very high level, it usually starts with an idea. Then there's a lot of research that's being done, and then eventually the bill gets drafted. As all of that's happening, there's also coalition building that's going on, right? People look for support. Who's done this before? Which brings us to the problem that we've been solving over the last 2 days. We really focused in on the congressional staffer to understand their problem. And since you've been one, why don't you share some of the struggles that you've had?
One of the biggest problems is, as a congressional staffer, when you have an idea in the legislation, you're thinking about, where do I start? How do I start building support? There are 435 members in Congress, 100 are in the Senate, and 435 are in the House. And you're thinking to yourself, where do I even begin? How do I start to build this list? Let me filter through all the previous bills, all the previous co-sponsorships, all of these different searches that you have to do, wasting a lot of time. Secondly, while there are tools like Quorum and BGov that are available to aggregate this kind of information, congressional staff and their budgets are very, very limited.
So, Melissa, what I'm hearing you say is you're spending a lot of time on this. There's a lot of manual process going into this. And if you opt into a subscription model, it's extremely expensive. Are there any congressional staffers in here, in the audience? Do you feel like this every day? Felt like this before? Okay. So it's a big problem, right? It's a big problem, and it's not just congressional staffers. It's also Senator Booker said, and I'm quoting, "I'm interested in working across the aisle, but," and this is important, "I don't have a good way to see where my colleagues stand on specific issues to identify possibilities for collaboration." And since you've been there, tell us a little bit about our solution that we came up with.
So CoalitionBuilder has built a free research tool for any congressional staff and even the public or any advocacy organizations to utilize to help filter based on different criteria such as co-sponsorships, sponsors, various letters that they signed on to, and I want to go ahead and take it away with the demo.
What we're going to do is bring up a working prototype we have. It's pulling in live data from the Sunlight Foundation and elsewhere. And just to quickly show how CoalitionBuilder might fit into that process you just described. So as an example, say you're working on patent legislation or patent reform. You might start with that topic. So you type in patents. CoalitionBuilder returns a list of congressional members who have sponsored legislation on that topic. It's kind of a wide net, so you can use our filters to drill down by chamber. So House of Representatives, you could then go to Republicans. And then additionally, to narrow down further, filter by committee. So bring up House Committee on Judiciary. We're down to 3 people.
Okay. I want to welcome everyone here today. Today is very much a celebration of good work that's already been done, an award ceremony, but it's also the launching, if you will, of the next page, the turning to the next page of a continuous process that is so important to wrench open the real information that the American people want. I think Susan is here, and I want her to say a few words, but what I want everyone to understand is that every government since the beginning of time wanted to publish good news, and only good news. The difference between our founding fathers, including the Federalist Papers, and today is there's so much more information, and it's so hard even to sort through the information that the executive and the legislative branch want you to see, that it's critical that we develop easy to access, consistent and reliable database programs that can allow you to get, of course, what the government wants you to see, but we want to go further. And one of the goals of the Open Gov Foundation, and I know Seamus Kraft and the team are here today, is to get the real data in a format in which you can begin to see not what the government's hiding, but what the government's hiding, what they're not hiding, what they want you to see, and what they never envisioned seeing because they haven't seen it themselves. That's where searching databases, multiple databases, is the long-term goal for the Open Gov Foundation, and I think for every hacker, if you will, here, and I mean hacker in a good sense. So I think you're going to see some great presentations. You're going to understand in the ceremony some of the good work already done. But it's not the beginning of the process, but we are so far from even the middle of opening up government, both this branch, which tends to be secretive only in what we're thinking before we apply an amendment, and the executive branch, which is so large that the tools today do not even allow the American people to know what somebody at a desk somewhere in America knows, and the secretary of blank has no idea is going on. And so often my old committee would spend a lot of time discovering something because an inspector general discovered it. That's not the goal. The goal is for the American people, for 300+ million people to begin discovering and then telling us what they see that in fact was probably overlooked by the handful of people who really run the government today.
The problem that we're here to address is making Congress work better. Many Americans are disappointed and even alienated from the core institution, as David said, of our national democracy, which is Congress. Now, we spend a fair amount of time at the Kennedy School and the Ash Center thinking about how to improve the institutions and functioning of democracy, and we really try to encourage people to think outside of the box for really creative and novel solutions. And one of our democracy fellows, Maggie McKinley, had a really good idea about how to start making some progress from outside on making Congress better. What if we really opened things up, invited students, technologists, people from startups, ordinary citizens to dream up their own solutions to the problems that plague Congress? And that's the central idea behind the hackathons that have occurred over this past year.
1, legislative Article 2, executive Article 3, judicial. You take all the words that go into Articles 2 and 3, they don't even come close to Article 1. Immediately after the preamble, all lawmaking powers shall be vested in a Congress of the United States. The founders said, Madison said, to paraphrase, I would rather trust 100 tyrants than one. Congress is a world of great competition and great creativity, and the executive branch has grown mighty powerful. I think one of the exciting parts about re-energizing Americans' access to Congress through this hack is to help restore the balance and accountability that rightly belongs in Article 1 of the Constitution and not vested in a large, too secretive executive and judicial.
So I'm not quite sure what to say here at the conclusion of such an incredible 5 months. But I am going to paraphrase one of our panelists at Hack for Congress DC. Joe Trippi asked the question. He said, listen, this is what we need to do to make Congress work better, but it can't just be a 3-day event. How do we hack for Congress every day? And I think the answer to that question is partly, we've got people who are doing this without making, you guys aren't making tons of money, right? No. Without tons of money, without tons of recognition, both here, folks in the clerk's office, GPO, Committee on House Administration, Library of Congress, there are people who are doing their part from the inside every day, and we have a 630-plus person army to help on the outside. And I hope you guys, and I know that the members who are here today and some of the press in the room saw that. We are really here to help, here to hack, but in a good way. And we're going to be looking for your help. What does Hack for Congress, how does it live on?
Hey, as always, thanks for watching, and if you'd like to be among the very first to know when I publish a new episode of Frank's World TV, be sure to click the subscribe button down here to your left. Also, if you want to do me a really big favor, be sure to click the like button for this video. And as always, you're welcome to make a comment too. Thanks.
The executive branch likes to give you PDFs and web pages. They want to give you what they want to give you. With all due respect to the executive branch and even to the House and the Senate, that's propaganda. Real information lets you search and make decisions and even cross multiple databases to get to the truth. That's the kind of information the American people need to get trusted. If you only take what you're spoon-fed from your government, ultimately it will all be about good things or bad things expressed in the best possible way and not about the truth the American people need.